I lost her on a Tuesday morning. The kind of morning where the light comes through the kitchen window at exactly the right angle, the way it had for 45 years. My name is Robert. I'm 78 years old, and I'm about to tell you the hardest truth I've ever had to learn. Margaret died 3 years ago this October. We were married for 45 years, 2 months, and 16 days. I know because I counted every single one of them after she was gone. Funny how you never count the days when someone's still breathing beside you. You just assume they'll keep coming, those days, stretching out ahead of you like an endless road, but they don't. They stop. And when they do, you're left standing there with your hands full of all the things you meant to say. We met in 1968 at a county fair, and she was wearing a yellow dress and laughing at something her friend had said, and I walked right up to her, even though my knees were shaking. I was 23 and thought I knew everything about life. Turned out, I didn't know a damn thing. She said yes to coffee, then yes to dinner, then yes to forever. We got married 8 months later in her parents' backyard. Her mother cried through the whole ceremony. I didn't understand why at the time. Now I think maybe she knew something I didn't about how fast it all goes. The early years were good. We were poor, but we were happy, living in that cramped apartment above the hardware store. Margaret worked as a secretary, and I was learning carpentry. We'd come home tired every night, and she'd make dinner while I'd tell her about whatever I'd built that day. And she always listened like it was the most fascinating thing in the world, even when I was just talking about sanding down table legs. I took that for granted. I took so much for granted. We had 2 children, Sarah and Michael. Margaret stayed home with them for a few years, and I worked double shifts to make ends meet. I thought that's what love was, providing, making sure there was food on the table and a roof over our heads. I'd come home exhausted and she'd have the kids fed and bathed, and I'd nod at her like she'd just done what she was supposed to do. I never once stopped to think about how tired she must have been, how lonely those long days might have felt. I was there, but I wasn't really there, not the way she needed me to be. The years moved fast after that. The kids grew up and moved away. Sarah went to California, Michael to Chicago. Suddenly it was just the 2 of us again in that house that felt too big and too quiet. I thought we'd have all the time in the world then. I thought we'd finally get to do all those things we'd talked about when we were young. Travel to Ireland like she'd always wanted. Take that pottery class at the community center. Learn to dance properly instead of just swaying back and forth at weddings. But I kept putting it off. There was always something. The roof needed fixing. The car was making that sound. I was tired from work. Tomorrow, I'd tell her, we'll do it tomorrow, next month, next year, when I retire. She'd smile and say, okay, and I thought that meant she understood. I didn't realize what I was seeing in her eyes wasn't understanding. It was resignation. The diagnosis came on a Wednesday afternoon in March. A pancreatic cancer, stage 4. The doctor said the words, but I didn't really hear them. Not at first. Margaret squeezed my hand, and I felt how small her fingers had gotten, how fragile. When had that happened? When had my wife, who used to carry laundry baskets up 2 flights of stairs without breaking a sweat, become this delicate thing, sitting beside me in a doctor's office? They gave her 6 months. She made it 8. I'm grateful for those extra 2 months, but I'd be lying if I said they were enough. I'd be lying if I said any amount of time would have been enough once I knew it was ending. Those last months, I tried to make up for everything. I took her to Ireland even though she was weak and the trip exhausted her. We went to that pottery class, and I sat beside her, helping her shape clay, even though my hands have always been too rough for delicate work. I told her I loved her every single day, multiple times a day, like I could somehow fill up all the years I'd been too busy, or too tired, or too proud to say it as often as I should have. But here's the thing, nobody tells you about dying. Doesn't matter how much you cram into those final months. It doesn't erase the decades of ordinary days when You could have said something, done something, been something more than you were. Margaret would smile at me when I'd tell her I loved her for the 4th time in an afternoon, and I could see it in her face. She appreciated it, but she also knew. She knew I was trying to rewrite history in the final chapter, and you just can't do that. The night before she died, and I sat beside her hospital bed and held her hand. She was drifting in and out, the morphine making everything soft and distant. But she opened her eyes at one point and looked right at me, and she said something I'll never forget. She said, "I wish we'd had more Tuesday mornings." That was it. Not the trips or the grand gestures, just Tuesday mornings. Regular, ordinary Tuesday mornings when we could have sat together over coffee and talked about nothing in particular. I didn't understand what she meant until after she was gone. Then I came home to that empty house, and it was a Tuesday morning, and I made coffee and sat at the kitchen table alone, and I got it. She wasn't talking about special occasions or big moments. She was talking about presence, about being truly, fully there with someone, even when nothing extraordinary is happening, maybe especially then. I started thinking about all those Tuesday mornings we'd had over 45 years, thousands of them. And how many had I really been present for? How many times had I sat across from her reading the newspaper or thinking about work or mentally planning my day while she was right there, alive and breathing and wanting nothing more than my attention? How many times had she said something and I'd given her half an answer and my mind already somewhere else? The loneliness after someone dies isn't what you think it's going to be. It's not just missing them at the big moments, the holidays and anniversaries. It's the small things that destroy you. The way she used to hum while she folded laundry, the sound of her footsteps in the hallway, the fact that nobody says your name quite the way she did, the way the house echoes now when you walk through it because there's no one else's breathing to fill up the silence. I go through my days now and everything reminds me of what I missed. I see couples in the grocery store and I want to stop them, shake them, tell them to look at each other, really look, tell them to put down their phones and their shopping lists and their busy important plans and just see the person standing in front of them. Because one day, maybe tomorrow, maybe 45 years from now, one of them will be standing in that grocery store alone, and they'll give anything, absolutely anything, for one more ordinary moment together. I wish I'd known that time was the gift, not the things we filled it with. I wish I'd understood that Margaret didn't need grand gestures and expensive vacations. She needed me to look up from the newspaper. She needed me to ask about her day and actually listen to the answer. She needed me to hold her hand while we watched television instead of sitting in separate chairs. Such small things, such easy things, and I miss so many of them because I thought we had forever. There were words I never said too. Not just, "I love you," though I didn't say that nearly enough, but other words, like "thank you" for all the invisible labor she did that kept our life running smoothly. Like "I'm sorry" for all the times I was thoughtless or dismissive or too wrapped up in my own concerns to notice hers. Like "you're beautiful" on all those regular days when she wasn't dressed up for anything special, when she was just being herself in our kitchen in the morning light. I think about the last time I saw her before she got sick, before we knew anything was wrong. It was just a regular evening. She was washing dishes, and I was watching television. She said something to me. I don't even remember what, and I gave her some distracted response without turning around. She went quiet after that. I didn't think anything of it at the time. Now I'd give everything I own to go back to that moment and to turn off that television and go stand beside her at the sink to really hear whatever it was she wanted to tell me. The thing about taking someone for granted is you don't realize you're doing it. You think you appreciate them, you think you love them, and you do, in your way. But appreciation and presence are two different things. You can appreciate someone from a distance while you're busy, while you're distracted, while you're planning tomorrow instead of living today. Real love, the kind that matters, the kind that lasts, the kind that sustains you when everything else falls apart, that requires presence. It requires showing up fully in all those moments that feel too ordinary to matter. I look back now at our 45 years and I see two different marriages. There's the one I thought we had, which was fine, which was good enough, which I thought was what marriage was supposed to be. And then there's the one we could have had if I'd understood earlier what I understand now. That second marriage, the one we never quite had, that's the one that haunts me because it was right there, available to us every single day, and I didn't reach for it. I'm not telling you this to make you feel sorry for me. I had 45 years with a woman who loved me, despite my failings. That's more than a lot of people get. I'm telling you this because maybe you're sitting next to someone right now. Maybe you've been with them 5 years, or 15 or 40. Maybe you think you have time. Maybe you think tomorrow is guaranteed. Maybe you're planning to really connect with them, to really see them, to really be present. And just as soon as you finish whatever it is you're doing right now, I'm here to tell you that tomorrow isn't promised. And even if you get lucky, even if you get decades together like I did, it still won't be enough time. It will never be enough time. So don't waste a single ordinary moment. Don't let another Tuesday morning slip by without really being there for it. Look at the person you love, not the version of them you see in your head, but the actual person sitting across from you right now with their coffee and their tired eyes and their beating heart. See them, thank them, hold them, tell them the things you're saving for later. Because later might not come. Margaret's been gone 3 years, and I'm still learning how to live in a world that doesn't have her in it. Some days are easier than others, but every single day. And I wake up in that empty house and I think about all those Tuesday mornings, all those ordinary, precious, irreplaceable moments I didn't fully appreciate when I had them. And I'd give everything, absolutely everything, for just one more.